I'm Adrienne Lee Bush, Director of PLUS Ministries at First United Methodist Church in Montgomery, Alabama. I don't know if you know this, but we have a thriving small group called In Stitches Creative Fellowship, which has an open door policy for all who like to sew, knit, crochet, cross stitch, needlepoint, quilt, make friendship bracelets, anything in that vein. We have a Facebook group page with members from all over the world, and we were meeting in person every week until the pandemic hit. We don't require folks to attend, we just really like hanging out together. Today I'm going to walk you through how to knit a prayer shawl. A prayer shawl can be a meaningful gift when you want to bring comfort to someone you know or care about. The pattern in this video is easy to follow, even for beginners. As In Stitches leader Jeannie Key says, it's just knit 3, purl 3. Let me tell you what you're going to need. You're going to need size 11 and size 13 knitting needles. It's okay if you don't have size 13. It just means that the ends of the shawl might be a little bit tighter. You're also going to need 555 yards of the yarn of your choice. Be sure to observe the color lot number if you're buying multiple skeins of yarn, as these can vary from skein to skein, even if they look the same. One more important tool, your hands. Before you begin, because this is a spiritual practice, offer the work of your hands up to God. Pray for the person who will receive your shawl. Remember that this is a prayerful time, so continue to picture the recipient as you are knitting. If you're working in a group, you may want to pass the work around the circle, asking each member to knit a few stitches or just hold it and add their prayers to it. Or, after you're done knitting the shawl, you may ask several people to pray over it. However you do it, it will be a meaningful gift. And now I'm going to get the help of Kate Wheaton. Her hands and her voice will guide us through selecting the right color lot, finding the end of the yarn, casting on, and knitting 3, purling 3 for 57 stitches.
Starting our project, we're using this lovely green wool today. But when you're buying your wool, you want to pay attention to the lot number so that you have the same dye lot on each of them. And we need a total of 555 yards for our project. And we can see that this one is only 300 yards. And different brands have different amounts. So at the end, you can see it wasn't this end, but this end we found the end, and we can pull from there to knit. To cast on, we're going to make a loop, a little like a knot. So we're going to go round, pull it through, and then you've got a big loop. Stick it on your needle and tighten it. Then get your wool. You're going to go in through the front of the stitch, but under the top, under the knitting needle. Wrap it around, pull it through, and loop it over. Do it again. In, around, through, and over. In at the back, around and between, through, and lift it up and over. And you're going to continue working like that until you have 57 stitches on your needle. Go, and that is 57. Right, so now that we have our 57 stitches, we are simply going to knit 3 and purl 3 along the entire row. So knitting in through the back, just to remind you, wrap your wool around, pull it through and slip it onto your needle. Again, the next stitch, round, pull it through, slip it on. The first row is probably the hardest. Round, pull it through, and then to do the pearl, you bring the wool back to the front, go in through the front, wrap it around, push it back, slip it off. That's the hardest because your stitches are tight on that first row. Your next row will be easier. So this is not the time to give up. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and one more pearl around, push it through, slip it off. Ooh, there it goes. And then again to the back. And I'm just going to keep going like that until I get to the end of this row. Last 3, 1, 2, and we made it. So that's the hardest part. There's your first row. And then we're just going to go through, just quickly do one more row just to show you that it does get easier. So now, again, exactly the same thing. So we're going to knit 3. You can see it's smoother now, and then bring it through and purl 3. I don't know if you can see when you knit 3, 1, 2, 3, and you look at your stitches, it's hard to see here, but when you do a purl, it makes a bump at the front, and when you knit, the stitches down. So if you lose track of where you are, of course you can count the stitches, but you can also look at the shape of your stitches too, and that will become more apparent as you go along. And if you're doing it wrong, you'll end up with a ribbed effect. You know, a ribbed effect would be, you know, like you have at the end of your sweater, you know, that ribbing as the pattern goes on. 1, 2, 3. And there we go. Getting to the end of our second row, and as you can see, that was a much smoother knit. And because we've got large knitting needles, you are going to have quite an open feel to your work piece. So as you go along, it'll get prettier and you'll be able to see your finished result. So you just are going to continue like that, knit 3, purl 3, all the way through until you have a 60-inch piece of work. And then you're going to cast off.
When it comes time to present your prayer shawl, you'll most likely want to include a card so that the recipient knows who gave it to them. The card can say who made the prayer shawl and for whom, as well as perhaps a blessing and suggestions for how they might enjoy the prayer shawl. If people prayed over the shawl, you may want to include that as well. Here at the church, we have cards that we can provide for you so that you can include that with your prayer shawl. If there is something holding you back from making a prayer shawl, we don't want it to be that you don't have the materials to do so. The church can assist you in getting the tools needed to get started. Just contact me if you would like our assistance. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you can make prayer shawls in the near future, and we would love to hear from you. You can email me at abush@fumcmontgomery.org, or you can visit our official website, fumcmontgomery.org/institches. Happy knitting!